we're moving on now to the Women's Rugby Super Series, and I'm actually just going to look up super quickly because as we're filming, England are playing France.
It's surely finished now because it was half time before we started shooting, so I'd assume that's all decided. France were ahead, but I'll just run through the other scores because the other games that happened since we last talked about it were France got the job done against New Zealand.
That was
the Black Ferns fell to 25-16 to France. And England narrowly got past Canada. This Canada team are serious. They're great.
Seriously physical.
They're Packer monsters.
Unfortunately, I missed that game. I did get to watch the France New Zealand game, Black Ferns game live. And France, like having been beaten by Canada and out-muscled by Canada, they weren't going to be out-muscled again. Their defence their line speed just shut down everything that the Black Ferns were doing. That classy little scrum half was rattled and was getting things wrong and was being harried. And then when they had the chances to take tries, they really did take them. Yeah. And having been introduced to this tournament in the context of complaints about very valid and still true complaints about the setup and how
organisation,
how it was being structured and everything else
about it. Fans bringing their own chairs, dressing rooms being a shed with a portal.
Everything about it being done wrong. The actual rugby on the field has been nothing.
The women
but
are
a
actually
treat.
just delivering.
Nothing but a treat.
They are the five best teams in the world, and they're awesome for it. And
oh my goodness, great. England have come back, as I see anyway.
Is that 18?
18-17 to France, where it was 18-5.
Is that full-time score?
No, 2018, England won.
England getting the job done.
Forgive my partisanship. It was 18-5 to France. We're gonna have to watch that game back. And
we've already spoiled it on ourselves now.
Yeah, it finished 20-18 to England. So
that England team is mighty impressive.
Came back, and that puts them in prime position to win it.
They're going to win it now. Yeah, that's likely the deciding factor because France have it in them to upset them, but that means that's 2 losses on the bounce for France, so they're out of it. Canada have lost twice.
Black Ferns are the only side that's lost once, so their game against England
becomes crucial.
But that is a massive comeback win for England, and unfortunately we haven't seen how it's played out. But this tournament is great. It was a great idea on paper when World Rugby announced it and released it. Great idea. Everyone's on board. Everything else that they've done in the context of it has been dreadful.
Yeah, Sky Sports are covering it, which is good on them.
Yeah,
but
everything else, where they've decided to play it, how they've decided to play it, the 4-day turnarounds, which are madness, and probably contributing to some of the up and down nature of the performances.
Yeah, it's very hard to keep that physical toll going. Every week on week, not even week on week, 4 days off. It's not enough rest and recovery, as we've said last week. But it's worth reiterating because it is madness, and it was a recurring theme because it happened in the under-20s championship as well. Shouldn't be done with rugby.
They're doing it for understandable reasons, but there needs to be a line drawn in the sand when it comes to rugby union that actually 15's rugby union, especially not to mention 15-man rugby union in 30-degree heat in San Diego does not needs a week-long break between games. Requires it.
They'll give them 4-day turnaround, but every 20 minutes or so they get a water break.
That's nothing at all. So that's definitely a problem, and there's been all kinds of problems, as we know, with the infrastructure and everything else. But on field, this is it.
You can't fault the women for any of that. That's the point. The teams there are class, and the games there have been class.
They've been really, really fun, and like we sort of compared them to the picture of where the women's game is at in terms of having turned professional. Really, only recently. These are really the only pro teams in the game.
Yes,
playing now at the moment. And
it makes this probably the only professional international championship that you
can make. And in that context, we're getting a picture of sort of like early era professional rugby or noughties kind of rugby,
early noughties rugby,
and just getting so many throwbacks to that kind of play with the pylons of the rucks. This sort of the curious shape that they're taking, this sort of primitive but still pretty cool old school backline moves, and then France shocking New Zealand.
Another throwback to New Zealand cruising towards victory until France come out of nowhere and beat them, which is also very reminiscent.
England with now back-to-back clutch 1-score wins from behind. that's huge, and that's a sign of them being probably just the most clinical and the most professional team in the comp. And Emily Scarlett and the girls will be quietly confident going into that game with the Black Ferns. I dare say they will be. Yeah. Mind you, New Zealand backlash is another thing. If we're talking throwback years, you never want to be. Usually when they lose to France, they don't get to play the next week.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
they have to wait till June of next year.
Sit on it and stew. And it does. Oh, they do, because it's a miserable feeling. But I'm excited for that game too, because it's an awesome fixture between what we were billing beforehand as probably the two best teams in the world. The league table is kind of reflecting that, but the competitiveness of France and Canada. Well, I always knew that this France side are right up there. But that this year they just haven't been quite hitting the heights that they're capable of, and therefore have kind of been left in England's shadow in the Six Nations. That was the story anyway. But they were still head and shoulders above everyone else in that competition. But it's been the emergence of Canada as a genuine awesome team. Their pack looked great
with another style.
But that's the beauty of this tournament, because I just typically wouldn't get to see Canada play, not until really the World Cup comes around. Then I get to see Canada and realise their class. But if this can become a better organised, regular fit part of the rugby calendar for the women, that makes professionalism all the more viable, but it also makes the product more sellable, marketable, because it's just, these are awesome games, and these are the best at this game in the world altogether.
Which is why it's to dampen it a little bit, it is a failure that a product this marketable, that is delivering to the extent that it isn't being absorbed by nearly as many people.
It's not being given a chance. Not being given a fair shake.
It's marketable, but it needs to be marketed, and that's the point. Is that to set up the tournament's a great idea, but World Rugby, they're great for great ideas, and they're horrendous for putting money behind them.
Yeah,
and that's just it. But you got to spend money to make money, as they say. And if they marketed it and put it in a proper stadium, and
it would be better placed in Suva. It would be better placed in Suva than it is there.
Well, that's even the point. They want the Americans.
I know they do. They do, but then even then, Texas would make more sense than San Diego, I would say.
Yes, I would agree.
So it's all a bit silly, but it would be a help if you could just start with a nice pitch with an actual ground behind it, and maybe some dressing rooms for the girls. Let's get that much right first, and then market it and try and sell. So
totally.
But yes, that is all throwing shade that we're it is important to keep harping on that, because it should be done better, but. One thing that we won't disparage at all is just been the effort and the play from all the teams in it, and they're all
proven. Women's 15s is on the rise. There's a lot of good work being done. There's a lot of really classy, talented players out there, and while it is a possibility that a nation 6 doesn't emerge for some time, and that there does develop a gap, right now what we have is a very, very intriguing dynamic playing out between these teams. It is top rugby and a lot of fun to watch.
And it just means as a tournament, it's actually more fun than either the women's Six Nations or
what they've got going down in the rugby championship.
Well, that's probably a bit more competitive, although the Black Ferns do just storm it every year. But I was going to say, or the World Cup, because I remember watching the World Cup that was here. That was another mismanaged catastrophe. That was all in the wrong place. That was not organised anywhere near as well. That's a recurring theme. But it was just you were watching blowout after blowout, because every team was on a different level. So the whole tournament, until you get to the last 2 rounds, there's no competitive fixtures. Whereas this, it's every week there's something.
And even so, if Canada and France find themselves on the wrong on either side of the draw and meet someone else from that 5-team grouping, there's some chance that they're not going to see each other at all in the whole tournament. Whereas this is an opportunity to take all those teams, the cream of the crop, and get them all to play each other, which is just great. And as is the way, commendable to World Rugby for putting it on, and a little bit disappointing in terms of how you've gone about it.
Pretty much.
But the show is great, and if you have the means to watch the last round, England against the Black Ferns, that's going to be the game to decide it. And if you have the means to watch it, absolutely do so.
France v USA is the other fixture yet to happen, which I suspect.
And USA Canada's happening tonight.
Yeah, which I would imagine Canada will win, but I don't know. USA have looked comfortably 5th best of these teams.
It would be a disservice to themselves, Canada, because they've beaten France very well. They got beat by the Black Ferns. They came tantalisingly close to beating England, but lost that game by a score. This is their last game this evening.
Which,
they brought so much to the tournament.
Who knows how much of a physical toll it's taken? They are a physical team that do things up front first. So it's
with fixture lists as condensed as this, it's always better to have your bye round in the middle somewhere, as opposed to like they have a bye weekend in the last weekend or the last round.
Yeah, so this could be a chance for the USA to get some points on the board.
This is their fourth game in 16 days.
So that's really not on.
Yeah.
It's a crazy ask, to be honest. Like best of luck to them. They are good value for it. I will be up for them against the USA, because even though it's like it's a bit cruel to have the US lose all their games, they've kind of deserved
and
that. Canada have 100% added value. That win against France was great. It was a great contest as well, because they were the more organised set piece driven team, whereas France probably showed a little bit more talent 1 through 15 in terms of when the ball's in open space, we know what we were doing, but it was the organisation of the Canadians and the physicality of the Canadians. Their ability to win collisions was awesome. But that's the kind of stuff that suffers with these quick turnaround games. You'll suddenly see some of those players that were running over the French ladies being a bit of a shadow of themselves, maybe, because that tends to happen in those quick turnarounds in tournaments. There's always one game that the performance just dips, and it's inevitable because you're exhausted.
Well, hopefully the
not.
Canadian girls can pull one out this evening, and begrudging congrats, but not really. Congrats to England, who are right now looking like the best team in the world on what I assume was a great comeback win against France.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for watching. If you're new here, please hit like and subscribe down below if you want to see more videos and all that kind of lovely stuff. But also please leave some comments down below, because we enjoy the chat.